It's been uplifting. Now, I just show Mount Rushmore because my wife did show up. I met her in Lusk, Wyoming. She flew to Casper, rented a car, and we went up to Mount Rushmore for a couple of days. And it was there that I got the connection with the National Park Service. I had written them the year before, and they didn't even respond to me. And again, how do you deal with rejection? You gotta keep pushing. And I talked to the people, and they wanted to see a little video of me and stuff, and boom, there I was. So we met, and we're at Mount Rushmore. Now, Oregon Trail, again, I followed this quite a bit. Now, this next picture, I had to put it in there. It was part of the journey here. Well, that's not it. The next one is. This is Chimney Rock. Have you ever heard of Chimney Rock? There were other landmarks I was unaware of. Jailhouse Rock, I don't know if it's where Elvis got that song from or not, but Courthouse Rock. There's a lot more landmarks than I happen to know about. But that is Chimney Rock, looks like a needle. And that was halfway. Now, I put this in here, not because I'm looking pretty, but I want you to know how much weight I lost. I started off about 202 pounds, okay? And I ended up down around 170. I was very worried. When I was in Glens Ferry, Idaho, and I got on a scale and I was like 182. And that freaked me out that I had lost that much weight from the Oregon beach over there. But, you know, that formula never changes. You know, all these books on dieting, eat less, which I was doing, no lattes, no ice cream, none of that kind of junk. It was bare bones, right? And do more. And I was doing a lot more, and I melted like a popsicle. All right, now this next one, some of you know what that is. If you don't, I won't play. When I show this to high school kids, they'll act like they've never seen it. But that marijuana, and what this was about was I was, write it down. I was in Nebraska, and it was after dark, and I had to have a place to stay. And like I said, I paralleled railroad tracks. So they have these little spurs, like maintenance road between the highway and the railroad tracks. It's gravel. And I hurried up and I set my tent up there, and I woke up in the morning. And I'm sitting there drinking my Starbucks instant coffee. Bless Starbucks. That was a big part of my trip. And I'm looking, and the sky is getting gray, and I see the silhouette, and I go, yo, that looks like pot. You know, and I'm thinking, what plant looks like pot? It's not pot, right? So I'm thinking, you know, whatever. And then I looked to the other side and says, yo, that looks like pot too. And I walked up and it's like, yo, it is. And you can see my little tent here. And this is marijuana, and it goes right on down there. And for 150 miles, this grows along the road between the railroad tracks. I mean 150 miles. Now, I don't have them in here, but I have pictures of pot plants that are as tall as this ceiling. And I'm going, yo, what's with that? And I thought I remembered a long time ago reading that there was wild marijuana in Kentucky and Nebraska and Kansas because during World War II, they used to grow hemp. You hear people talking about, should we grow hemp? Now, I'm not advocating or not. I'm just giving you the facts here. Okay? And I called my buddy up here and I said, man, there's pot all around. What's with this? You know, and he got on the internet. I did have a cell phone. That was one thing. I was anti-cell phone. My wife said, you will have a cell phone. I said, yes, dear. So I did have a cell phone. I called him, and Ken got on the internet and said, yeah. In fact, I talked to some locals, and they said they laugh. Because I have, like, hippies from Oregon or whatever driving through, and they'll slam their van brakes on, they jump out, and they like start loading up their truck, and they drive away, and you can't get high for this. Is industrial hemp, okay? And in fact, I ran into a farmer and said, just legalize it. And this is before I ran. And he looked like a John Deere hat. I couldn't believe that he said that. And then down the road, I saw this, and you know, the whole association thing, to him, it was no big deal. But this is leftover from World War II, and it was 150 miles.
What state was that?
In Nebraska. Nebraska. This is, I'm in Iowa here. Excuse me, yes. I'm in Iowa, and you can see the shoulder. I'm telling you, this was endless trucks, farm equipment, and I'm pushing here. The cops stopped me, told me get out of the road, you know, and I said I did, but I can't because look at this gravel, and is there some other road? And he said they're all like this, so there wasn't a lot of hope for me. So what I ended, here's a Mr. Policeman. He was an interesting character. kids in high school said, "You took his picture?" Yeah, we weren't. Most policemen are really great. This guy and I didn't get along. But so what I did, I decided to go at night. So these are my headlights here off my little trailer, and here's my tail lights. I did this right. And so I'm tooling down the road. It was very surreal experience going through the Iowa countryside at night. Now, I don't have the sound. I kind of bent the prong on the thing, so I can't do that. But I was prepared to show you a couple of videos of some of the sounds. Because what you got used to were the coyotes, yipping and yapping. I had to watch out for skunks. And you say, well, why? Because skunks actually go along the edge of the road. They kind of roadkill all that, possums. You'd be surprised what all they eat. And you hear something in the dark, I didn't want to get sprayed, but the big thing were the dogs. Because at night, like I said, in the country, they're not tied up in there. Bowser's doing what Bowser's supposed to do, which is protect the perimeter. But that caused some problems for me. I actually had some videos of some dogs after me. It's just time of the year. Okay, now this is just a video that I can't show you now. Hang on. This is working. Yeah. All right, again, the edge of the road, real hassle. As long as there's a bike lane, everything's fine, but this was a drag. So my record walked was about 46, almost 47 miles. I had walked all night. I was supposed to be this little crossroads of a little town. There was one motel, and they had nothing. They had construction workers there. And so, and I said, well, I can wait till tomorrow till you clean the room. She says, no, they're here all week. There's no place for you. And so I thought, well, what can I do? Well, I just kept walking to Cantrell, Iowa, and it ended up being 40-some miles. But you can see the season has changed quite a bit. Now, this guy's a nice guy. This is a nice policeman. Officer Morgan, Jerry Morgan was his name. I was in a Walgreens drugstore buying some power bars, and I came out and he was waiting for me. I said, what'd I do? He says, somebody called, said somebody's in the road. He says, would you please walk on the sidewalk? And I pointed out there was no sidewalk. He goes, well, if there is one, would you get on it? And it's so, Fort Madison is so, I won't say it's backward, but they're not like wheelchair accessible or anything. He's got, remember those curbs are about that high. So I kind of ignored him, but he said, and by the way, you can't cross the Mississippi. Fort Madison is on the Mississippi River. So I'm about 1 mile from the Mississippi when he showed up at my doorstep. And he said, what do you mean I can't cross the Mississippi? And he says, well, since 9/11, no pedestrians are allowed on the bridge. You have to go up to Burlington, which is like 40 miles. I said, buddy, wait, I'm not a regular guy walking to the store. I'm walking across the United States and da-da-da, and this thing weighs whatever, and whine. And he says, okay, I'll tell you what. And he called the bridge authority. He says, I'll give you a personal escort across. So this policeman, what he did, he held up traffic. I had my cart there. You see it in the background. And he followed me with his lights going, and there's a whole line of traffic, and it was another, I'm going to use the expression, high moment for me, crossing the Mississippi. The fact that was a big one of those mental demarcation lines that I had walked from Oregon to the Mississippi. If I had just gone home, I'd have considered it an accomplishment, okay? But I never did want to turn around. I don't know, maybe it's Mormon. I'm not Mormon, but if you know anything about Mormon history, everybody knows about Salt Lake City. Before they were in Salt Lake City, they were in Nauvoo. I have an ex-student who teaches in San Antonio, Texas. He's a big Mormon. He said, oh, Mr. Brown, you got to go through Nauvoo. I wasn't going to, and I talked to the police. He said, yeah, it's a good thing. So I went down along the Mississippi River, and sure enough, this is where the Mormons left to go to Utah. Their leader, Joseph Smith, was killed in Carthage, Illinois. And this is the second largest Mormon tabernacle in the world, the largest being in Salt Lake City. And this faces west. And the one in Salt Lake City faces east, so they kind of face each other. And here I am along the Mississippi. Kids go, yo, that's a river? It looks like a lake, yes. But this is another high moment. It's like a beautiful day. I just crossed the Mississippi, nice bike lane. You're on this side, I'm on this side, everything's fine. I took a picture of this. I got a million pictures. I just had to select some. But the house was gone, but that chimney was still stood, and they had that flag in there. I thought it was pretty cool. This is where Joseph Smith, the the prophet of the Mormon Church was. This is a jail, but not like what we think of a jail. And he was actually tossed out of that upstairs window after he'd been shot, or he jumped out. Here it is in the back. And so the Mormons own this now. It's like a big shrine or visiting place. This is Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio all in one. This was the time of the year the crops were in, and I'm in Decatur, Illinois, again talking to some people, trying on a mission, news people out. I got in there's a lot of little towns with nothing going on. Not that I was a superstar. In the big towns, people ignore you. Nobody paid attention to me in Philadelphia. But when you're going through Cowpatch, Wyoming, the big news is somebody's cow got out of the pasture, and here I am walking through. So I got in a lot of little small town newspapers. Now, the number two thing I was worried about was weather. Number one was traffic, I said earlier. This was weather, and I cannot tell you how blessed I was. Other than rain at night, which I could handle, I didn't walk in the rain until I was really in Illinois. Now, I want you to imagine that. I mean, I've crossed the country many times in cars. I've had those hellacious thunderstorms and hail, and, I had a buddy that had his whole tent shredded by the hail. It was so bad. And I'm telling you, I went past these signs, weather alert, call, whatever. I had sunshine from here to the other side of the river. It was so awesome. I'm just in Ohio talking to some kids. Here's Amish. They've been in the news. If you saw that thing where that one Amishman cut the other guy's beard, that was in the news there on the internet. Yeah, I'm in eastern Ohio, by the way, like old graveyards. Anybody's from back east, you recognize that kind of thing. Mail pouch, an assembly in Ohio. Okay, I just crossed West Virginia. West Virginia, there's a little panhandle like my finger. It's only about maybe 20 miles wide up there, and I'm in Pennsylvania. Beautiful countryside. This is Independence, Pennsylvania is the name of it, and they just had this little thing outside this shop. I was worried about the snow. The time was of the essence, and I was in Bedford, Pennsylvania, holed up for a couple days. It had monsoon, torrential downpour rain. It was so bad I wasn't going to venture forth. I had a little motel room. I kept a blog, by the way. I don't know that I said that. I think Robert said that. But this was the first snow. And I'll tell you, after I got out of Bedford, it was like 5 days later, they had a foot of snow. And that would have totally screwed me up because, where the snow plows push it. It had all been right here, which would have put me out here with snow and trucks and stuff. I'd have been a dead man. But I cannot tell you how lucky or fortunate or fortuitous, however you want to say, that I was. I went past a lot of cool places. I told you the Pioneer stuff. This is Shanksville, Pennsylvania. They just dedicated a big memorial. This was the other plane that went down in the Pennsylvania farm field. There's what the Alleghenies of Pennsylvania look like. Notice all the leaves are off the trees. Graffiti everywhere, but it gives you an idea of those eastern mountains. And a lot of beauty in Pennsylvania. The Appalachian Trail, we got the Pacific Trail here. I passed that. And I went to Gettysburg. I was on Route 30. If you want to know where I was back east, mostly it was Route 30 once I was in Ohio. And this is really cool. I had been there before a couple of times, and Robert E. Lee had his headquarters during the battle. And this is Philadelphia, but I want to mention, before I got to Philadelphia, after you're out of Lancaster, it drops down. The road really drops down. You kind of get head into the ocean kind of thing. And I had received a letter by somebody who lived back here, said, watch out for Camden, New Jersey. It has the #1 murder rate in the United States. It's just across the river from Philadelphia. And I was also warned about this place called the Bottoms in West Philadelphia. Now, I had 2 people in cars who stopped. People stopped all the time to talk to me. And 2 people warned me. They said, I don't know what you have in that cart. He says, but you could easily get robbed. Okay? And so I had this nervousness. Plus, I'm in Philadelphia traffic. I had a lot of people flipping me off, get your gas off the road, and I had to really suppress my normal reaction. My normal reaction is to give one back. But you can't. You just got to let it roll. And I was just outside Philadelphia. This was like a Friday or Thursday night. I had Friday traffic, and I'm worried about the traffic, and I'm worried about this neighborhood. Okay? And I woke up at 1 in the morning, instantly awake. It was freezing cold, by the way. It was about 20 degrees. Which was pretty cold. especially when you're walking out there in it. And I thought, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get up and go now.